Welcome to today's Career Oyster podcast. I'm Howard Caddy. I'm founder and head coach of Career Oyster. In this podcast series, we are talking to founders and executives of staffing, recruiting, and search firms, and with the idea of getting their views and their expertise about the potential changes in the economy, AI, and the job marketplace, and how they are preparing to handle those changes going forward in year 26 and 27. My guest today is Bryce Batts. She is co-founder and CEO of Career Collective, and she has a headquarters in Raleigh and a side office in Tampa. She's got tons of experience in the AEC profession, and we're going to talk to her about her marketplace and her strategies to help candidates and clients. So thanks for joining me today, Bryce. And why don't you introduce your company for us?
Howard, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. My company is Career Collective. We are in our 5th year in business, and we do recruiting for the AEC industry. That's architecture, engineering, and construction, all permanent placement nationwide.
Okay. When you look at your business in terms of competing with other AECs, which I've also spoken to a couple of them, I think it's a good market actually, but we'll get into the details. Tell us a little bit about what differentiates your firm from other firms and how you approach the market.
Yeah, my business partner and myself, we came from another firm where we had worked together for years. And like many recruiting firms, it was very competitive. It was very dog. So we said we could do it better. And that's why we started Career Collective. And we think we really work as a collective. Everyone works together. Everyone has each other's back. Of course, we all want to do well, and we're still competitive, but never at the detriment of our clients. So I think that's one thing that makes us different. I think also our level of transparency with our clients and trying to always do the right thing, both for the candidate and the client, because we are working both sides. And then the fact that we are niche and we're only serving the AEC industry. That's all I've ever done in my 20 years of recruiting. Same with my business partner. So we have a wealth of knowledge in this industry. And we were lucky enough when we left our old company, a lot of our clients followed us. And I think that's just a testament as to the work that we had done with them.
So when you look at that in terms of your candidate and your how you handle candidates, tell me a little bit about how you deal with them specifically to show maybe a longer perspective on their careers as well as some techniques to get them in the right opportunity for the present transition.
Mm-hmm. I know recruiters can get a really bad rap, and a lot of companies think recruiters just pull people off the internet and email the resume over to the client or to a prospective client. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but we don't do that. We first find their resume or we call them and to see if there's interest, if they're a passive candidate. And then we do a full screening call with them where we're interviewing them to find out what they've been doing, why they're looking, what they're looking for next, what interviews they currently have going on, what makes up their total compensation package now, what they're looking for in the future, so we can compare apples to apples. And we'll look at drive time for our various clients, so we are not surprised if the commute's too far. We ask about their preferences of working in the office or home, hybrid, etc. And then from there, when we send their resume out to our client, we include a summary. And then if we get an interview request, we're calling the client back, we're asking, or the candidate back, we're asking them, again, these are the details you gave me. This is the client that's interested in speaking with you. And this is where the client relationship is really important because say you're my client. If you are always too busy to talk to me on the phone, if you haven't given me a job description, if you haven't told me what stands out about your company and why someone should work there, then it's much harder for me as a recruiter to sell the opportunity. But our best clients are really looking at us as a partner and an extension to their firm so we can help sell the opportunity because it is still a tight labor market within AEC. But each time we set up an interview, we will do an interview prep to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then we do, after the interview, do an interview debrief So, in a time where people are not on the phone as much and they're relying on text and email, to us, it's still really important to talk to the candidate multiple times on the phone so we can stay aware of any changes that may happen in their search or anything, in between, because crazy things always happen when you're dealing with people.
So tell me, is your business, and when you place these positions, what were the kinds of, just the types of positions a little bit? And also, is it all contingency? Is it retained? Is it contracting? Is it both? Tell me what your mix is.
Yeah, it's mostly contingency. We've done a little bit of retained search, but I would say 95% is contingency.
Mm-hmm.
We are placing architects, landscape architects, civil engineers, mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers, energy engineers, commissioning engineers. And then we do some construction. We haven't done a ton. It's something we've just promoted someone into a position to help us do more of that. But primarily, we're working with consulting firms within the AEC space.
So when you look at the trends that are happening in the marketplace right now, there's certainly a couple question marks, right? I mean, the world affairs, the economies, the cost of living, the even the international environment, etc. Tell me what you see as challenges to your business coming forward in the next 2 years, let's say.
Yeah, I think it's changing so rapidly. I will say at the beginning of this year, a lot of principals and firm owners I talked to said we just can't plan because we don't know how to plan because tariffs one day are this, the next day they're this is changing, that's changing, so it's hard for us to make a plan.
Yeah.
But I think everyone is just moving forward as best they can, although they're cautious. They can see, they're watching the interest rates, they are watching their backlog of projects. And I've had some clients tell me based on their workload, they've got a lot of projects they've won, and now they're waiting for them to start. And then I've got some clients saying everything hit at once, and now we're in hiring mode. And this is something if you follow me on LinkedIn, I'm very passionate about because I think hiring is something the whole firm should be involved in, meaning marketing helps HR write the job descriptions so they can sell the company. Employer branding is important on their website, plus on social media. And you have to keep the pipeline full of candidates and at least have some of those strategic people you're talking to. So when a project does hit, you're not scrambling to hire someone. Or if you have a key person leave, it's not a detriment to your business and now you're turning down work because you don't have the right people in place.
So, very smart. I remember, were you still in the business in 2009? I think, and certainly in certain sections, but there's always some hiring, but there could be a little bit of change on the downside. What do you see in terms of AI and things like that changing for specifically for the recruiting business first, and then secondly, how does that impact the candidates, and how does that impact the number of jobs that are open, etc.? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is also changing so rapidly. I would have said AI is a great tool for the candidates. It can help them find jobs a little more easily. It can write their resume, their cover letter, and things like that. And they're able to tweak their resume and cover letter based on the role that's posted. And for recruiters, it's a great tool. It allows us to be more efficient. But now, just in the last week, I've been using Claude more. I talked to a data scientist, and they've showed me how to do a lot of things within Claude Co-working and Claude Code. So I can definitely see how you can, 10x your number of employees using AI. So maybe we have 30 recruiters, and then we have, 100 agents set up to help us on AI. So then essentially we've got 90 employees, 30 human and 90 and 60 AI. So again, when this comes out, it's going to change again. I think every week there are new updates, so it'll be really interesting. I don't think you'll ever hear me say that we don't need people on the front line to make sure things are going correctly, and AI is just as good as the information that we put into it. So people are still very much needed, but I do think we'll be able to do more with less because of AI.
So when you're using those agents, are they for mostly outreach for candidates, Are they trying to develop clients also?
Yeah, you can set it up for both to, help you find good candidates, whether they've posted on job boards recently or they're seeing a lot of activity from them on LinkedIn. And then AI can help you with those outreach messages. Now, some people now can use it to send all the messages itself, depending on what you've connected to your AI, whether you use Claude or ChatGPT. We're not doing that yet, but I can definitely see that that's the way things are moving.
How about when you're dealing with I like the fact that the AI should support your recruiters, and the recruiters make the decisions, and that's the smart strategy. But when you do communicate out to, you had a database, I think. Didn't you have a large database of people?
We do.
Do you use
Yeah.
your AI in that at all, or is there, or what do you do to market to your candidate database? Because
Our data,
they're passive lookers, right?
some of them we've worked with in the past. Some of them we've just uploaded into the system because we think they could be a good fit and we're doing some outreach. It does have AI integrated. We use Loxo, and it has Loxo source. So then if I
Awesome.
put a job in, it will help me make matches for the job. So it'll pull in people. And again, it's going to ask me, do I think they're a match? Yes or no. And unless I tell it, it's going to pull in people who work for the same company that I'm looking for to fill a job at. So I will say those people, obviously, I don't want to call them. They already work there. But yes, it's a good fit based on that information. So you still have to weed people out, but it helps pull them in. And then you can create campaigns using the AI. I mean, it will write your message for you. You've got to read it and personalize it and things like that. But you can set up a campaign to send out an email and then a text message, and then maybe you make a manual call, and then it's going to send out another email and things like that.
So what do you think the problem will be in terms of the job market if you can be 5 and 10 times more productive? There also could be the AEC companies could be 5 to 10 times more productive in some of the roles. I assume a lot of your roles are in the office or in the headquarters or light white collar, not necessarily out on the fields on it, but maybe they are. So the question is, what does that do to that marketplace? And in terms of competition, this happened back in 2009, when I remember it, where there just weren't any jobs and there were huge unemployment at that time. And today, if you look at, you got a second problem where candidates are so easy to apply that they flood the market. And you have a traffic jam going into the every job that's out there, and primarily caused by LinkedIn and others that just make it easy for them to just apply, even if they're not serious about it. What are your thoughts on how to compete in that game?
I think that's where personal connection is so important and working your network, because if you look at a lot of jobs on LinkedIn, you'll see over 100 applications. It'll say how many people
400.
have, and it's because you can do easy apply, which, if you talk to a career coach or somebody in that space, they'll say, don't do that.
Right, exactly.
Because your resume, it's just a piece of paper, and now it can be written by AI, and then you're applying, and AI is analyzing your AI resume, so it's crazy. But I think, if you worked at a company that I was interested in working at, then I would reach out to you on LinkedIn and see if we could have a conversation, or say, hey, Howard, I just sent my resume in. This is why I think I'm a good fit. This is what I could do for your company, and I would love to chat. And then see if we can connect that way.
Yeah, but when you post a job or whatever, don't you get flooded with candidates?
We don't,
You don't.
and that's the problem for a lot of employers, because they'll post a job and they're just not getting applicants. The applicants we get are the ones who are out of the country or need a visa sponsorship, and unfortunately a lot of our clients can't or won't do that. Now, if I was to post a marketing position at an engineering firm or a CFO role, I would get a lot more resumes than I would for an actual engineer or architect.
Right, and then you have to weed through them. Okay, so in general, do you have any special strategies based on this technology and the climate we're in to that you're actually trying to execute right now for this
I
year?
have some I'm working on currently within Claude and trying to set up an operating system to see how it can help us in the office. So I'm still leaning into that. But then we're using things like I mentioned, Loxosource. We use a new tool called, what was new a couple years ago, called People GPT that
Uh-huh.
uses AI to find people. We use Zoom Info to find their phone numbers and emails and things like that. There's so many tools out there now, and then as far as job boards go, we're using all of them, but primarily we use Indeed and LinkedIn.
How about in terms of pure recruiting, where you go to passive market, the hidden market, maybe that people call it, right? Where
hmm
no one's called them. They don't have a resume yet, even maybe, and whatever. Do you do any of that with your recruiters?
Our clients, when they're hiring, you're not going to find those people on the job boards.
Right.
You're not going to be able to post a position. So you've got to start calling people at their competitors or messaging them on LinkedIn. And I know they all get sick of LinkedIn messages, but most people are very kind and will reply either they're not interested or they want to hear more. And that's when, as a recruiter, I trust them. Like, this is the client I'm working with. If you're interested, let me know. We'll have a conversation. And go from there. Because if I'm not willing to give them anything, then they're not going to give me anything.
Tell me a little bit about your book that you've written, and tell your audience here about what the theme of the book is and some of the major tenets and et cetera that drove you to write it, and they're in there of your philosophy and your methodology, et cetera, that you think are special, et cetera. We've hinted at them here, but maybe you can give us a little more detail.
Yeah, the book is called The Career Architect, and I wrote it because I've been doing recruiting for so long. I thought I've got to put a book together because I've held this tension for so long of what clients really want or employers, and then what candidates or employees want. And oftentimes it's not a fit. And it's like, how can we make it work? Which is why I think recruiting is like dating or matchmaking because the timing has to be right. You both have to like each other. So the book is very practical, which is how I am as a person. And each chapter at the end, it gives you a couple of questions and it will help you if you are looking to start a business or just change jobs, these things that you should be tapping into and what you should look for. I think after COVID, so many of us got quiet and we're trying to decide what we want next. So I weave in stories from the podcast. And like I mentioned, some really great storytellers. Our LinkedIn contact, he was on there because he talks about negotiation and how he interviewed with hundreds of companies in New York City before he got his job at LinkedIn. I also talked to a woman, Alice Draper, who's a writer, and she talks about gamifying rejection. And in sales or recruiting, you're constantly putting yourself out there, even as a business owner. And she talks about making it fun. If I'm calling 50 people a day, 49 may say no, but then I might get that yes. And how can you just continue to persevere in the face of rejection? I talked to someone else, Marissa Mangum. She talks about this is her why not me era. And I love that because so many of us think if we have a good job, who are we to ask for something better? Or, how do we compete? And she started flipping it around and saying, well, why not me? And I really love that mindset because you don't know unless you try and they've got to choose somebody. So why not you? And I just share a lot of those different stories within the book.
I think you had a comment in there that did catch my attention, which is about a little bit like proactive career management. I think they used the term, you just said the term, why not me or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been, I don't want to say preaching, but that's probably a good word. This concept's forever, but especially it wasn't nearly as important back in the end of the 90s, etc. But as soon as in the 2000s, and especially right now, the way things are, everybody needs to be proactively ready to explore an opportunity at any moment. It's
I
no
agree.
longer, well, okay, I'll get a resume in a couple of weeks. By the time I get all that done or whatever. Have you found? I mean, I think that was in your book, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like keep your LinkedIn updated. Make sure you're working your network before you really need them. And I'm all about asking, offering my services too, asking people just how I can help and any connections I could make. Because you don't want to get caught off guard. Your company could be bought at any time, and that changes your role, or they eliminate it, or now you're doing a lot more, or you don't like the culture. So to be prepared, and that's why I say too, anytime a recruiter reaches out, why not listen? It could be the next step in your career, could be something great that you've been missing out on. So I think being prepared in that way is really important. And the other side of it that I talk about in the book is you decide what you want. A company will put out a job description, and you'll see more men than women apply based on how good of a fit the role is. Apply and then talk to the company and let them know this is what you're looking for, because you are interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And I know if you're looking for a job, it may not feel that way because you just want another job and a paycheck. But to be happy, I think you've got to decide where your career is going and help make some of those decisions. And then when you're in the job, raise your hand for different projects, make sure you're getting in front of the right people, to make sure it's moving in the direction that you want it to go, because you are in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I call it proactive career management, and most people are very reactive in the whole process. And
Yeah.
like I said, things happen by happenstance a lot of times for people. Well, if you spend the time to understand where you want to go and what's important to you,
That's right.
then you're targeting and sensitive to opportunities that fit that. And then the key is to pursue them appropriately. But we've all had these little twists and turns in our career. You have that, I have.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a physics major. How does a physics major show up into sales as well as engineering? I did engineering, then I did IBM sales, then I'm in headhunting. The dots only connect if you look backwards. It was
That's
never
right.
I stole that from Steve Jobs. But that we never see that up front unless you have a curiosity, a professional curiosity to understand what's going on. Too many candidates they have to feel that it's 100% right before they pursue something.
Right.
And then secondly, they're not prepared to move or they say, well, I'm happy where I am and I'm fine, but by not exploring, they don't know what are possibilities.
Right.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to your audience about your approach? And then at least introduce or tell everyone, your audience here, how they can reach you personally and get help if they need it, and etc.
Yeah, the book you can buy on Amazon. It's available there, and I hope to have an audiobook at some point because I'm a big listener of audiobooks when I'm driving or doing various things. So that's next on the agenda. Wine After Work, the podcast, is on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And I'm always on LinkedIn, so you could connect with me there. Happy to chat with anyone. You could DM me whether you're looking for a job. I'm also a certified career coach, so I do coach some people in the AEC space and some who are not. But of course, AEC is my niche. And our website is mycareercollective.com. And then I'm also doing some consulting with clients to help them figure out how to hire, attract, retain talent, because I feel like a recruiter is just one part of the piece. And now that Career Collective is running itself, I'm also consulting, and you can find that website just at brycebats.co.
One final question I probably should have asked this in the beginning, but the name is very interesting to me. Just tell everyone how you got the name of your company.
Yeah, Career Collective. We wanted to work as a collective coming from somewhere where the culture wasn't so great. Not to say I didn't learn a lot of things there and made some good money, but we wanted to be able to offer those things and work as a collective and offer that great culture. And to be honest, in the beginning, I thought, well, I could do career coaching. We could also do recruiting. And we didn't know if maybe we would go in some different directions. Right now, we're just AEC. Our clients love that we're very niche, so we have no intentions of expanding beyond that. But we thought a name like that would allow us to expand when the time was right.
Well, thank you for that. And I've enjoyed this brief podcast and a peek into Career Collective. And hopefully we'll do some more in the future. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon. This is Howard Caddy from Career Oyster. Thank you for listening. Take care.